Hello, ladies and gentlemen, namaste, and welcome back to the sacred space with me, your host Preetha Lal, as we spend time reading the book Eternal Values for a Changing Society by the late Srimad Swami Ranganathananda ji. As you are aware, if you're following this podcast, Swami Ranganathananda was the 13th president of the Ramakrishna Mutt and Mission, but he was also so much more. He was a scholar par excellence, a guru, a spiritual ambassador for India, a philosopher, a teacher. This multi-volume treatise that I have decided to read to you through this podcast is a testament to the vast breadth of his knowledge and the immense depth of his wisdom. As you are aware, we are reading the chapter on the spiritual life of the Indian people, and we shall be reading it in 3 parts. In today's episode, we pick up where we left off and read the Swami's words on the 4 yogas, the pre-eminence of Bhakti or devotion, the evolution of the Santana Dharma, and the worship of Divine Incarnation. All of these aspects take us even closer and provide us a deep understanding of the Indian spiritual ethos that has prevailed in this country for centuries. It may be of interest for you to know that this chapter that I'm reading, this was actually a lecture delivered by Swami Ranganathananda at the Tokyo University in Japan on September 30th, 1958, and also at the Naprastek Museum Hall in Prague, Czechoslovakia on June 23rd, 1961. Let us begin. The 4 yogas. The classification of religion into pravritti and nivritti was based on the felt interests and longings in the heart of the human being. Vedanta also makes another classification of religion based on temperament and inclination. This is the well-known classification into the 4 yogas of jnana, philosophy, bhakti, devotion, raja, concentration and psychic control, and karma, dedicated action. Buddhism, in its Theravada form, and certain aspects of Vedanta belong to the Jnana type. Christianity, popular Hinduism, Islam, Judaism, Zoroastrianism, and Mahayana Buddhism belong to the Bhakti type. Raja Yoga and Karma Yoga enter into the above 2 expressions in a general way, though they are not absent in their specific forms among a certain type of seekers, both in ancient and in modern times. The active type of men and women of an extra-religious or extra-philosophical temperament have always resorted to the pure form of Karma Yoga. Similarly, the contemplative style of men and women who are extra-religious and extra-philosophical have always been drawn to the Raja Yoga for its experimental attractions. Vedanta holds that this classification is not exclusive, but it rests on the predominance of a particular temperament and inclination. In a further reduction, Vedanta and the Gita speak only of 2 yogas, the yoga of jnana and the yoga of bhakti, to the latter of which is joined karma and raja yogas. The pre-eminence of bhakti. The Gita expounds the latter of the 2 as the royal spiritual path for the majority of men and women, giving them a scheme of practical spirituality leading to breadth of outlook, strength of character, and efficiency of action. The guidance of jnana philosophy, however, is always to be there as its background. The devotee here is moved by love of God, God who dwells as the inner self of all beings and in all nature. To that God of love, he dedicates his life and actions. With him, he seeks to commune in prayer, song, and meditation, and him he seeks to serve in all his creatures. This is the characteristic religious attitude and the temper of the majority of the Indian people, as it is also the characteristic attitude and temper of the majority of the religious people of the world. Unity in diversity. It is against this ideological background that we have to view the spiritual life of the Indian people. The first thing that strikes us is the vast diversity of its expressions. India did not believe in uniformity of type, either in religion or in culture. It believed in a variety of expressions held together by a central thread of unity. This idea derives from its philosophy, which holds that unity in variety is the plan of the universe and not a dull, dead uniformity. India speaks of the search for God as a search for the one in the many, the one that gives meaning and significance to the many, like the figure 1 behind a 0 or zeros. And so in religion, she consistently upheld the idea that the goal was one, but the paths were many. The spirit of active toleration. To the people of India, therefore, toleration of different forms of faith and culture, of belief and practice, becomes a natural corollary of their outlook and philosophy. Sri Krishna's proclamation in the Gita, and the Swami quotes, "Through whatever paths people approach me, I receive them through those very paths. All paths, O Arjuna, ultimately lead unto me only," unquote, has gone into the bone and marrow of the Indian people and made the spirit of positive toleration or universal acceptance pervasive of the entire range of their long history. India defines religion as realization, or anubhava in Sanskrit, and not as a matter of forms, ceremonies, and dogmas. The latter are valid as means, but not as ends. Secondly, India does not equate religious scholarship with spirituality. Knowledge of religious tenets is not the same as religion. Such knowledge is also valuable, but only as means and not as end. It must reach out to experience. As the Imitation of Christ expresses it, and the Swami quotes from the book, "I would rather feel compunction than know the definition thereof," unquote. Thirdly, atheism is not such a bugbear to India as to Semitic religions, for these are merely academic affirmations and negations. In the absence of an earnest endeavor to realize God, India does not find much difference between the affirmation of the theist and the negation of the atheist. Moreover, India holds that consistent atheism is an impossibility because the God it preaches is not an extra-cosmic God, but the divine self in the heart of all, in the theist and the atheist, in the wise and the ignorant. No one can deny such a God without first denying oneself. No one, on the other hand, can affirm such a God without first affirming oneself. As a fruit of this view, there has been very little heresy hunting in Indian history. India's toleration extended not only to different groups of the faithful, but also to the different groups of the faithless who could not arrive at any faith in God. Sanatana Dharma. The majority of the people in India belong to one or other of the various branches of the ancient religion of the country, Vedanta. It has another significant name, Sanatana Dharma, or the eternal religion. This was the name that people of India gave to their religion. It is based on the eternal, impersonal principles discovered by different sages at different times and collected together in the Upanishads. As such, Sanatana Dharma is not derived from the authority of any single personal founder. The sages of the Upanishads discovered the truths of religion, and these sages are honored as such. But the truths themselves are eternal and can be discovered by any person in any age. In fact, Sanatana Dharma holds that it is precisely this effort to discover the truth by oneself and its final realization that constitutes religion, and not the effort to believe in a creed or dogma about God or soul. The impersonal foundation of Indian religion stands in sharp contrast to the personal authority of a founder of all other world religions. Early Buddhism was an impersonal religion. Buddha discovered the truth and showed the way to the truth to others. He described himself as Tathagata, or Tathagata, the pathfinder, and declared that Buddhahood was a state and not a person, and it was attainable by all. In this, he was a teacher of Sanatana Dharma, and his teaching was close to the spirit of the Upanishads. Later, when he was transformed into a personal founder of a particular religion, a spirit of exclusiveness developed, and from being like Vedanta, an eternal religion, Sanatana Dharma, it was changed into a religion with history. So much so that without the authority of the personal founder, the religion so interpreted cannot stand. This limitation of its scope was one of the important reasons for its later disappearance, in name and in form, though certainly not in substance. From India, a phenomenon in Indian history not confined to this one instance only. Vedanta or Sanatana Dharma is not the same thing as Hinduism. The word Hindu and Hinduism were not coined by the people of India to refer to themselves or to their religion. As was said earlier, they themselves designated their religion as Sanatana Dharma, eternal religion. Hindu was a term coined by foreigners, especially the ancient Persians, to designate the people of India in a territorial sense. It only meant the people living on the east of the river Sindhu or the modern Indus, and they pronounced S as H. Thus, the Sindhu of Sanskrit became Hindu and their land Hindustan. The Greeks avoided both H and S and pronounced it Indos, from which was derived India. Thus, the word Hinduism originally meant the religion of the people of Hindustan. In fact, however, it is not one religion that exists in India, but many religions. Apart from the religions that came to India from outside, in the course of her long history, namely Judaism, Christianity, Zoroastrianism, and Islam, all of which are based on a personal founder of founders, there are several indigenous religions, each complete in itself and all loosely called by the single name of Hinduism. The impact of Vedanta on India's popular religions. Among these indigenous religions, three are particularly important, both as to philosophy, tenets, and long history, and as to the number of adherents involved. These are Vaishnavism, adoring Vishnu or his incarnations, Rama or Krishna as the deity, Shaivism, adoring Shiva as the deity, and Shaktism, adoring Shakti, the Divine Mother, as the primal divine energy as the deity. Among these, Shaivism and Shaktism are practically one, as both the deities are objects of worship in each of them. These deities and incarnations have been the objects of worship for millions and millions of people in India during these 2,000 to 5,000 years. These religions have not remained the same during all these millennia of history. They have undergone changes, even profound changes, in their everyday aspect, in theological structure, as much as in their mythology and ritual. Their contact with the rational philosophy of the Upanishads gave rise to the changes in their theology, while this orientation in turn produced relevant changes in their mythology and ritual. The story of the peaceful evolution of the Indian religions under the stimulus of a lofty philosophical thought and in response to changing cultural situations is one of the most impressive chapters in the history of religion. Though this process, primitive forms of religion were allowed to grow and develop into highly spiritual religions without getting smothered by more advanced ones. The evolution of the Shakta religion. The history of the Shakta religion is significant in this connection. Originating as the worship of the mother goddess patronized by the primitive groups in all parts of India, in the hills and in the plains, this religion slowly evolved under the stimulus of Vedanta and became centuries ago a complete religion of deep philosophy, profound mysticism, and appealing ritual. Some of the greatest personalities of Indian history, including the great philosopher Shankara, were followers of this religion. Conceived as the divine mother of the universe and called by different names such as Devi, Durga, Bhagavati, Kali, Bhavani, Annapurna, or Meenakshi, this deity centralized within herself the entire range of mother goddess cults of the vast continent of India. Some of the sublime poetry and mysticism of India is centered in her worship, while its philosophy has become almost identical with that of Vedanta itself. In modern times, this religion became associated with the name of Sri Ramakrishna, who worshipped this deity as Kali in the Dakshineshwar temple near Kolkata. The Brahman and Maya of Vedanta are conceived as a unity, the quiescent and dynamic aspects of reality. Shakti or Kali represents this dynamic aspect, which brings about the birth and evolution of the universe out of itself and finally withdraws it into itself. The Brahman represents that quiescent state. Worship of divine incarnations. Though Sanatana Dharma is based on impersonal principles, it provides plenty of scope for the play of personality as well. Personalities come into religion as illustrations of the principles. So immediately after the age of the Upanishads, India saw the emergence of two towering personalities, Rama and Krishna, whose influence on the totality of Indian culture, religion, poetry, art, and life has been the deepest and also the most pervasive. Their influence has been not only on India but also on the countries of Southeast Asia, where Indian culture had penetrated during the first 10 centuries of the Christian era to result in the beautiful flowering of native cultures. Sanatana Dharma looks upon them as incarnations of God who came to establish righteousness on earth. Buddha's status in Sanatana Dharma is also the same. The worship of these avatars, incarnations of God, has been long recognized in India as effective spiritual help, and it forms an essential part of India's religion of Bhakti or love. In fact, the worship of Rama and Krishna forms the major part of the religious life of India. The largest number of temples in the country are dedicated to their worship. This worship consists of a series of rituals and services rendered to the image in the temple, exactly in the spirit of service to a living personality. Devotees join this worship, especially the evening services when lights are waved and songs are sung before the image, often in chorus. This chorus singing is a prominent part of India's spiritual life. The chorus song composition in Sanskrit in praise of Rama, known as Ram Nam, or the name of Rama, is especially very popular throughout India. Mahatma Gandhi was very fond of this chorus and used to have it sung in his prayer meetings. It is very pleasing to the ear and elevating to the heart. Songs relating to Krishna will fill several volumes. He is worshipped as the personification of the god of love. But there is also the worship of him as Child Krishna, a worship enriched by relevant poetry, song, and mysticism, which is unsurpassed in its lyric of tenderness and pure spirituality. The birthdays of these two incarnations of God, of Rama in March, April, and of Krishna in August, September, are big events in the religious calendar of India. Thank you, friends, for your time and attention and presence here today as we conclude the second section of this three-part series on the readings on the spiritual life of the Indian people. In the next episode, we will read the Swami's analysis on Shiva, Buddha, and a beautiful analogy of Shakti in the context of the kinship with the Japanese gods or kami. Swami Ranganathananda's ability to take concepts of diverse philosophy and draw parallels and perspectives is something that uniquely distinguishes him from many of his contemporary and erudite stalwarts. We will continue next time. For now, I take your leave. This is Preetha, and thank you for being here. Namaste.